allow Ben to join. Okay, so we'll get started and then we'll crack on. Obviously, the recording will be made available for everybody to view. Okay, so today we're going to focus on microsites and building landing pages, and to encompass that as well, one of the common features of a landing page is a form as well. So we'll take a little look at Form Builder, creating a form to make it available within our landing page, and we'll go through the process of creating our own microsite and creating the pages within that microsite. And sort of take a little bit more of a general look at the microsite builder as well, because I know a lot of clients that we deal with either looking to implement or looking to sort of refresh their knowledge on the microsites and the microsite editor. So we'll take a look at that. So first of all, what I'll do is I will create a form ready to host within my microsite. So to do that, using the left-hand navigation, I'll flick down to the Forms tab, which you can see here. Click in the Forms tab, and you can see this is where all of our forms will be made available. So these are all the forms that have obviously, majority of them have taken place within a demo, but this would be populated with all the forms that you've previously got in place or sort of have created within the form builder. You can create a new form, selecting the Create New button at the top here, and when you click that, you can start from scratch. You can start from a blank form, giving it a name, clicking Create, and you'll get a blank form to be able to then drag and drop fields in and create yours from scratch. But if you did want a little bit of a starting point, we do have a form library available on the Library tab, and if I click on there, we get presented with some sort of default library sort of templates of the forms. So you can see here we've got I'll use this Contact Us one. So I've got a little bit of a starting block, and I'll give it a name, and I'll just call it. I'll just put webinar in as an example. Click Create. Oh, webinar 24. Surely that's not in use. There we go. So I'll click that, and you can see it's created at the top left, most recently one, and I can click Edit, and this will open up our form builder, so I can start creating my form and getting it to look exactly as I wish. So this is our form builder, and we've got sort of a left-hand panel containing the fields that we can make use of in the form, and we've also got a sidebar here where we make the edits for the form. So initially we have the form settings related to the entire form. So if I wanted to come in here, change any of the spacings of the rows within all the form, with all the fields, within my form, I can do that here. I can change the font as well, or any text alignment changes. And as I mentioned, this is the settings for the entire form. Whereas if we want to make edits to individual fields, we will click on the fields and do that. But just to run through, we've got the size, we've got borders that we can add, and we can add background colours if we so wish. That can also be applied if the transparent background is in place. You can also apply a background within the microsite editor as well. So not going to worry too much about the background colour unless it's going to be consistent in every single time that you enter it. So if I click within my form, hope that's a good sign for Sharon joining us there. So I've clicked on the title here, Contact Us. It takes me to I can edit the specific field now, so I can change this. Please the form, and I can make these changes. The text I've specified. If I wanted to make any changes to the font or text colour, I can do that here. Obviously your branded colours will appear as well when selecting colours. Change the size in the border, similar to the form settings in its entirety, and I can change the background of this particular part too, but I'm happy with that. Also worth mentioning as well that similar to the microsite editor, we have the auto save feature. So if you were having a play around with it and you didn't want to sort of save the changes as you went, you were just sort of having a bit of a play around, we can turn this off, and then that will require us to manually save any changes. So I can click that. I'm happy to sort of leave it on for now. And you can see within the library form that I selected, it already contains first name, last name, and email address. So it's important to note that with an email field or a phone field, these are specific fields that we can drag and drop in. So if I drag phone in here, it drags it in and is presented as so. I'll just remove this for now. I'll just reopen up my sidebars. So the email address field has obviously for the email field to be inserted in the example that we have it within the library. It's been used by the email, but if we wanted to add in, let's say, company name, I can drag and drop the text input, and I can place it where I like. You can see here I can put it to the side, so we've got two fields on one row. I'm going to keep the design similar, and you can see I've inserted my my new text input, and I'm going to specify that as company name, and the other fields as well, just to be in keeping, have been asterisked as a required field, so I'm going to pop that in as well within the label text. And the input value as well, what I'll do is I will include the token. So if a contact whose company name we are aware of were to visit that page, it would pull through that information. So I can include that, and that is the case for all of the other fields within this particular library. And then I can make any further changes that I require. But because I need to make this field required, as the other fields are, I'm going to click into the validation. I'm just going to tick this required field. So that will now be required to enable the contacts to submit. I've got a submit option here. I can change the wording, clicking on the submit button, changing the text. Might want to make it full width, for example, just to be in keeping. I'll leave the text as center aligned, but I'm happy with that. So let's say I've added the fields that I want. I'm good to go. I want to insert this particular form into my landing page. You can see at the top here that some of the fields are not mapped, and part of that, with us using this particular example from the library, some of the fields are mapped for us, so we don't have to do it all. But I've added this company name field in. So there is part of the submission mapping that is missing. So I'm just going to click on submission mapping. And we can see here that my available field, the company name field, isn't added within my mapped field. So what I can do is I can click auto map, and you can see because of the name of the field, it has automatically mapped it to that. But if that wasn't correct, I can select here and select which field I required this information within this field to be mapped to within the portal. So obviously I'm happy with it being company name. I'm going to save that, and you can see that my submission mapping is now complete. I can save that. My form is in place, and I'm happy to proceed. So I'll click exit here. One thing worth mentioning as well is if we do develop a form that we like, so this form that I've created here, I wanted to make a slight tweak to it, but perhaps I only wanted to change the company name field. I wanted it to be a different field, sort of city, for example. I could duplicate this form, and it will create an exact duplicate for me. So I will leave this form in place, but I'll be able to edit it and obviously make amends to that form to create a variety of the same form. So that works nicely if you've obviously spent time creating your form, you've got the formatting and everything as you wish, and you just want to sort of tweak any fields in there. You can do that by duplicating and then editing as well. I'd recommend doing that as well if you did want to have a play around and sort of have a mess around with the formatting or the borders or anything like that. So you can have it like that. So our form is in place. We're now going to move on to the microsites tab, and we're going to put our microsite in place. So I'm going to click on microsites, and I'm sure some of you will be aware, but then you get presented with all of your existing microsites. So if I just have a look at, let me find an example, the webinar one, for example. So my webinar microsite is entitled Productivity Webinar, and within that I have 3 pages, which you guys most likely will have visited, having registered for today's webinar. So I've got 3 pages within my Productivity Webinar microsite, and as we create a new one, we'll be able to see that our name of our microsite and the name of our pages actually form part of the URL. So we've got some control over the naming convention of the microsite as well. So similarly to the form, if I want to add a new microsite, I've got the Add Microsite button at the top here. So I can click here and I'll call it Webinar Example. So as I mentioned there, it does form part of the URL. Within the microsite name, it will actually populate, if I was to leave it as Webinar Example with the space in between, the microsite name will automatically populate that with a hyphen. However, within the page names, we do need to be conscious of having spaces in there, just because when it comes to publishing it and creating the link, any spaces will be populated with a %20. And obviously, we're not allowed spaces in URL, so the portal will automatically do that for you. So just for a cleaner looking URL, I would recommend getting into the habit of, rather than spaces, sort of having a dash or an underscore, anything that you want to sort of have a little bit more control over the cleanliness of the URL, if you like. So within the Add New Microsites tab as well, if you have a default favicon, you can add that here. So I'm in the Force24 account, so that is available for me. So I've got that there. Any scripts or default scripts we can add in here as well, and including user info on the form post. So that will automatically pull that through. And enabling auto ID would enable us to match the cookie to the email address and update any information provided. So if in the example of you were attending an event, for example, and you wanted the same form to be submitted multiple times, I would recommend turning these off so you can obviously create new contacts in each instance of submitting the form. But any queries on that, or just to sort of dot the I's and cross the T's, please do obviously get in touch with us, and we can advise on the best way to achieve that. But I'm happy with how this appears. I'm going to click Save. And we can see that my webinar example has been inserted as a microsite. Obviously, no pages in there just yet. I will mention as well, we have a little icon on the left-hand side of the microsite name. So this indicates that this microsite has never been published. So it's never been in the live environment, if you like. Whereas if I look at the one below, this has been published for obviously to supply the URL to a campaign, or to put it on a social post, something like that. So now I want to obviously add my pages into my my microsite. So to do that, I can click Add New Page on the right hand side here. And from here, again, similar to the form builder, we can start from a blank page, or we can choose from any existing template. So if you guys have saved a landing page template, or you haven't quite got one in place yet, you can obviously start from the blank page. But if I choose from templates, here are all the example ones that Force24 have used in the past. I will start from a blank page just to run through the process of making use of branded snippets, or even editing existing snippets, so we can get that template created, if you like. So in this instance, I might call it, let me have a think. We'll put download. So I know a lot of clients host PDFs or white papers, and they might be using a link to prompt contacts to submit their details to download a white paper. So I can click Add Page, and you can see my download page has been added there. And whilst I'm here, because I'm going to include my form, and we can supply a form destination URL, I'm going to add a new page, and I'm going to call it thank-you. Again, just making sure there's no spaces in there. I can add that page, so I can lead the submissions to the thank you page. So now to obviously create and get into the microsite editor, I'm going to click Edit on the download page. And that will open up my microsite editor. So there's no snippets in there at the moment, because obviously I've started from a blank page. I've similar again to the form builder, I've got my auto save enabled, so any changes are going to automatically save for me if I happen to cross it or click exit. I've not got to worry about having to manually save that. So I'll leave the auto save on there. And now it's time to sort of drag and drop some snippets in. So very similar to the email templates, we've got our categories of our snippets within our snippet library that we can make use of to create that landing page. So I might go on all snippets. I imagine being in the Force 24 account that there's going to be quite a lot in here. So let me try and narrow down my search. So I'll have a look for some one column snippets. See if we can find a header snippet in here. I'll get my text snippet in there in anticipation. Back to categories. Let me look for a Force 24 header. Got a footer there that I can make use out of. I'll just locate a header. One to drag and drop in there. So I think that's a footer. Let me search for this. So let's have a look for the header snippet. Making use out of the tagging system within the snippet. I'll just use this one for ease. I don't want to. Oh, that is the header one anyway. It looks slightly different in there. So then obviously I can make use out of any snippets that I require. See, this one features Lee. Let's get that one in there. And then obviously we can start making text amends, image amends. We can start doing that within our snippets. I'll just drag another one in there, for example. So we can see here that before I click within my microsite, I've got, similar to the layout section within the email template editor. Sorry, we've got the toolbar that appears. So similar options in the sense that we can move them snippets up and down using the up and down arrows. We can duplicate snippets by clicking this icon here. We can remove snippets as well by clicking the bin icon. We can save snippets, clicking the plus icon, and then that's it there in use for us to drag and drop in the future. And we can also make use out of Genius blocks, which I'm going to demonstrate in this example here. So first of all, I'm going to click within my snippet, and you can see, different to the email template editor, I can make direct text amends in here just by deleting, typing anything in there. And also, I'm going to reference adding the form that we created previously. So I'm just going to flick ahead. I'll revert back to other edit options that we have within the toolbar at the top here. But I'm going to click Add New Form, and this opens up my form configuration page. So this is where I can select my form. So here's the webinar form that we created. I'm going to select that one to be inserted. Webinar example, I'll call this one. I'll just give it a name. Form destination URL, so this is where I can link it up to the thank you page that I've inserted. I can specify a marketing list that any contacts that submit their details are automatically added onto, and this is where journeys can come in useful. It could automatically trigger the contacts onto an email series, for example. So I'll just add it to, I should have a test list in here. Let's have a look, there we go. So I've got my Steve test list that I want them to add to, and then I'm going to insert my email address to receive a form submission email every time a contact submits this particular form. So I'll pop that in there. We do have the option to insert multiple email addresses if you required more than one person to get that notification. We just need to separate via a semicolon and then type in the next email address. Once it's a valid email, we'll be able to click and update. So we can see that my form has been inserted here. Oh, I've just seen that we've got a message, just bear with me. Ah, thanks, Adam. So we've got our form inserted. I've got the text in that obviously I can supply that. So I did run through an example which I know is quite useful to majority of clients. So if we want to lead the contacts to this page, and we rather than having a contact submit their details every single time, what we can do is we can make use of Genius blocks. So we could have the form appear to anybody not within our master marketing list, but we can also have our just a straight download button. Because we already know who they are and their details, we don't need to pull that information from them all the time. Whereas if we'd shared this link on a social post, for example, we obviously want to capture the information of any contacts that are not known to us within the portal. So we'll be able to do this by making use out of Genius blocks, which I'll demonstrate now. So first of all, I'll just drag and drop in another text column. Just drag and drop this one in here. So in this example, I'll have this one as download our white paper. So I want to add in a little bit more space in there by clicking the button below. And then I can add in a CTA button. So I've got this option here. As you hover over each of the options on the top toolbar, it does give you a prompt to let you know what that icon is going to achieve. So we can click add a new CTA button, and hopefully you guys will be familiar with this from inserting CTAs within the email editor. But we can pop in the text here, so download. I can include the link of a published white paper or PDF, so I'll supply that in a moment. I'll show you how we host that. And then you can make obviously all the amends, so we can change the background colour, we can change the weight of the font, we can make it a little bit larger, add a border radius, increase the border weight to make it a little bit more prominent. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this one. So I'll get this added in, and you can see we've got that there. So to bring me back to the toolbar that appears over the snippet, because I'm going to want to show this to all the contacts within my master marketing list, I'm just going to click off my microsite page here, just using the grey sidebar, and here I can specify the marketing list. So this enables us to manage who can see this particular snippet or this block as it's referenced in the title here. So I can put show to contacts within, and then I select my marketing list. So I hope there's some sort of, I'll just use this one as an example. So I've got a master list with first name. It looks as though, so I can save that one. So this particular snippet is only going to be shown to contacts within the master list that you've specified in that query there. Whereas the form is going to appear to obviously contacts that are not in that list. But I wouldn't want this form to appear to contacts within that list either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this snippet. So using a very similar query to what we've used above, we would hide it from the same master list. So I can click save there. So this one is going to be shown, but this one is going to be hidden. And then I've got all the snippets that I dragged and dropped in there as well. So I can click save, and I can exit this page, and then it'll just be a case of quickly creating my thank you page. So I can pop in here, and then I'll just drag in that one. I'll search for my my header that I had, and I'll follow Adam's advice here, search for my header. There we go. Drag and drop that one in. Drag and drop the footer in. Very simple thank you page. And I can put thank you for submitting your details. And obviously, I want the contacts to provide me with their details, but obviously it's only going to be contacts that are not currently known to us within the portal. So I'm going to add in another, let me just sort the alignment out here. I'm going to add in another CTA, a download for those contacts to be able to access the download. And again, I'll specify the link in a moment. Background color out, obviously I can make all those changes to create the exact same CTA. I think I made it a little bit bigger. Increase the border weight as well. I'll get that button just added in there for me. So obviously this is only the page that's going to be presented to the contacts that are not currently in my master list. Auto save's done that, but I'll just click save to be absolutely safe, and I can exit this page too. So now I'm going to want to host the PDF or the white paper for the contacts to be presented with. So to do that, on the right hand side of my microsite name, I've got 3 dots next to the add new page button here. I can click that, and I can click the manage files option. So when I do that, we have a root folder here. So if I click on the root folder, we have the plus icon, and it prompts us that we can add assets. So I'm going to click this option here, and it will prompt you to select your file that you want to upload. So I'll just grab one of I'll attach our tracking and form capture configuration guide, so I can open that one. You can see that it's mapped here. So one thing that I haven't done, which I would in terms of best practice, is again the PDF name will contribute to the URL. So you can see here that I've got spaces within my PDF name. So if I wanted to ensure as clean a looking URL as possible, I would rename that PDF and I would remove the spaces and pop in hyphens or underscores just to really drive home the clean looking URL there. But I'm happy to add it as it is for demonstration purposes, and you can see that it's been entered here. So what I can do now is to generate a link for that PDF. I need to publish the microsite that it is a part of. So to do that, click the three dots, go to the publish option, and then you select your live location and the default page that will be presented to you upon the publishing being completed. And also in the unlikely scenario that somebody was to only type in the root URL, this is the page they would be taken to. So I can publish this. We get a prompt just to let us know that the process has started, and then you get presented with the page that you specify. So I'll just pop back here. So I can come back to my webinar example, click the three dots here. I think might have two people in the account. I think a demo is going on there as well, so sorry about that. You can click Manage Files, and here you can see the configuration guide that I've hosted. If I click this, we get some icons appear on the right-hand side here. So obviously I can remove it, I can download, or I can add further assets. But this sort of monitor icon, the Show Public File URLs, if I click this monitor icon, here is my my link that I can provide and attach to those buttons. So if I click the link here, you can see here's the percentage 20 that I referenced for the spaces within my PDF name. But I'm just going to grab the URL, and then I'm going to click back within my webinar example, and this is where I can attach it to the button. So I'm going to click back into the editor, and then once the editor opens up, I can click on my CTA. I get the option to edit my CTA, and then this is where I can supply the link. So I'll pop the link in there, update my button, click save. So that's been added to that one. Exit this one, edit my thank you page to attach it to this CTA too. Here we go. Edit my CTA, supply the link, update the button, and make sure that those changes have saved as well. And just before I republish the microsite to obviously push those changes into the live environment, I'll just take a sort of a run through the other editing features within the microsite builder, just to make sure that everyone's aware of what you can do there, and the ease and simplicity of being able to make amends. So this is my main page that I've obviously utilised the Genius box for as well. So in here we can see we've got images. So if I did want to replace any of these images, if I click on the image within it, I can select the replace option, and similar to the data upload process, replacing an image within the email editor, I've got a drag and drop sort of box, target box, that I can drag, drop the image that I want to be inserted into there, and then any size changes I can make in here too. We can change alignment and things as well. Obviously we can remove and insert a link to this image as well. But if we did want to insert just an image within a snippet that we currently have, rather than replacing an image, click in here. We have that option here too, so I can insert an image. The one difference between the microsite sort of capabilities and the email is we can actually embed a video within a microsite as well. So we can insert that, and as I mentioned, we've got the alignment changes, all of the font changes, and any colours as well. We can make all of those changes too. off here. And also we have this little target icon, which entitles Switch Editor to contain a selection mode. So you can see here that there's a slight difference in the background colour. So I selected this. If I hover over this entire snippet here, I can select here. We get the option to edit the element style. So I can select that. And you can see here, this is where I can insert a background image if I wish, or I can make edits to the background colour. So I might tweak this slightly. I can't remember what the it was the light blue. So not guaranteed this will look brilliant, but I can update that. I don't look too bad. So I've updated the background colour there, so we can achieve that. And again, you can go through, change the image of Lee there, change the background colour of your footer, whatever you wish. So we can do a lot with the Switch Editor to contain a selection mode. And obviously, I've demonstrated how to add CTA, add a form, and insert a link as well. So I'll just save those changes there. I'll exit this page. And now, obviously, I want those changes to be pushed into the live environment. So I'm going to click on the three dots again, click Publish, and repeat this process to push those changes. Click OK. And it automatically opens up the page for me. But I'm just going to flick off this one so I can show you where the links are available. So the links are populated just beneath the pages. So if I click on this link here, obviously I can take a look at my URL and amend it, or obviously I can take this, supply it on social posts, attach it to images, CTAs within our email campaign, whatever we wish. And now I've clicked on the link. Obviously, because I do not feature within that master marketing list, I've been presented with the form. So it's pulled through my information that's already held against me within the portal to save me that amount of time. So I can click Submit, and I'm taken to the thank you page, and then I get access to the download button. I click the download, and I'm presented with my PDF. So it's a really nice sort of simplistic way of, one, saving contacts time, because I know obviously if we've got their information, we can put a little bit less effort in, and we can supply them immediate access to the download for them to access, and obviously possibly be prompted onto further campaigns, however you want to organise it. But yeah, that's sort of the demonstration of how we can utilise landing pages in this instance, and a little bit more of a general look at how we can implement the pages, dependent on the purpose of what you want to sort of put them in place for. And also we took a look at the form builder as well. So obviously, if there's any questions at the moment, or you sort of have a play around with it and you have got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with your account manager or myself, and we can obviously schedule a call to take a look in a bit more depth, or basically advise how we would achieve what you're looking to achieve there. So that's gonna wrap up today's session. I really appreciate the good turnout for the webinar today, and I hope you all found it helpful. We will be publishing the recording, and we'll send out an email of the recording and let you know where you can access that. It will be in the help section, but I'll supply the link in the email. I have just got a message. Helen's just asking a quick question. Yeah, of course I can, Helen. No problem at all. So I'll do that before I wrap up. So if I click the edit option, how we link the thank you page to the download page is in the form configuration aspect. So if I click within the form, we can edit the features of the form, and the form destination URL, I entitled my thank you page thank-u, so you can supply thank-u.html, and the form destination URL, as soon as somebody clicks submit, that is the URL that they will be taken to. So they'll be taken to the thank you page, and obviously I think you saw me demonstrate how those two link up. So I hope that made sense for you. I'll just check the message. No problem at all, Helen. Thank you for the question. So yeah, we'll wrap up today, and I'll as I mentioned, we'll get the email out to everybody, so you can obviously review it again if there was a particular aspect that you wanted to sort of recap on. But we'll get those emails out later today once that's done. So thank you again for your time, everybody, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks very much, guys. Bye bye.